There are 50 houses coming down in Kalamazoo. My company's vision is to take these forgotten houses and turn them into family homes, and that came through the show.
Welcome to the Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast, brought to you by the Rental Property Owner Association, providing benefits and services to real estate investors and rental property owners for over 48 years. With your host, Brian Hamrick from Hamrick Investment Group.
This episode is sponsored by Green Property Management, managing everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area. Find out more at greenpropertymgt.com. Hello and welcome to episode 117. I'll bet that every investor who's ever flipped or rehabbed a house has at some point thought to themselves, I should have my own TV show so that people can see how it really works. Well, today, I have the pleasure of talking with two investors from Kalamazoo, Michigan, who have not only succeeded at fixing and flipping, but are now the stars of their own reality TV show, which is now playing on the DIY network and is in discussions to be a series on HGTV. You may remember my guests, Jeremy Cole and Ramon Huerta, who were on the show about a year ago, episode number 65. And they have a property crawl that they do every month in Kalamazoo, Michigan, which is kind of a live version of one of those fix and flip type shows where they take people to the actual projects that they're working on. We've talked before, so I'm just going to get right into the conversation. We finished our podcast, recording our podcast a year ago, and I said to you guys, I said, wow, you guys should do this for real, like be on TV, because you both have a lot of charisma, and you're doing it for real. You're the real deal. And Jeremy, you said, funny enough, we just recorded a pilot for HGTV.
Yep.
So why don't you take it from there? Tell us what happened a year ago and how that all came about.
So a buddy of mine, Stanley Stepp, showed up, or he actually messaged me and said, hey, Jeremy, we've got to get you off of just doing before and after pictures on Facebook. Let me just show up with a camera, I'll record some things, I'll put it together, and we'll make it look real cool. So we did that for a few months. He put 6 or 7 episodes together on his network, and he tagged a bunch of different production companies. Production company out of Detroit said, hey, we've got a contact at HGTV that may be interested in this. Let's shoot what's called a sizzle reel. So it's just me talking excited with my hands and my team. Ramon was there. We submitted that, and at this point there are thousands of submissions going into HGTV annually. So we're just one of 1,000. We get past that first initial meeting. They say, "Wow, we like their their charisma, their excitement, their energy." So we got to the next level, which they funded another sizzle reel, which was about 5 minutes. They sent in a camera team. They sent in an audio guy. It was a lot more professional than what Stan and I had originally started doing. So they shot that. They paid for it. They funded that. And then it went to what's called a green light meeting. At this point, this is where the network says, we like it enough to send it to pilot. So, thousands of submissions get whittled down to a dozen. We were one of the dozen. So we got the thumbs up. We got the green light meeting. And the HGTV funded $200,000 production of our pilot. Not the rehab, not the purchase price. This is for the camera team, the producers, things like that. I still had
the post-production, the music,
post-production,
the graphics, all
exactly.
Those things. Yeah.
So I didn't get much of that. But they did send their team out. They filmed the entire pilot. I bought literally a nasty house. It was a hoarder's house. You couldn't even walk through this thing and see things, So start to finish from after we cleaned it out to, this house being just the best on the block. It was the worst in the entire neighborhood, finished out being the best on the block. They captured that entire rehab, and it just aired on February 10th at 8 p.m. on the DIY network. And so that's kind of where we...
And the show is called From Gritty to Pretty.
Yeah, the show's called Gritty to Pretty.
I watched the episode.
Okay.
Because I knew we were going to be talking today. And by the way, we're talking at the RPOA's annual conference.
Yes.
So you guys showed up. Thanks for coming. I mean, this is the excitement and the type of quality people you have at the RPOA's annual conference.
That's right.
So thanks for coming up from Kalamazoo. But anyway, I watched the episode again last night, and you really did buy I would have walked into this house and then torched it. This was the ugliest house. And disgusting in so many ways. Ramon, why don't you kind of come in from the realtor's perspective, right?
Yes.
You're the one who's going to help sell the house when it's all said and done. What did you think when you saw the house that Jeremy? Like, this is your big shot at stardom. What did you think when you saw this house that Jeremy had chosen for your pilot episode?
Well, I've known Jeremy for several years, so I know what he likes to buy. I know what excites him. So it was right in his realm. I was concerned because now he's going to be on TV. So I would have hoped it would have been just a little bit better, but it wasn't. And even what you saw on the show doesn't even show everything, how bad it really was. I mean, they had to clean it out. So I remember just walking in, and we walked into some really bad houses. But that bathroom was by far, I didn't want to walk in there.
I saw maybe go wash my hands after watching it on TV.
No, and I'm glad that he was the one that walked in there, because I was like, that's the first thing that came out of my mouth. I didn't realize we were taping or anything. I'm like, I'm not walking in there. If they want to edit this or cut or whatever, change the camera view, it was just very, very bad. Mm-hmm. And the rest of the house was just dated, but I mean, that's what he likes. That's what motivates him. I knew it was going to be a good product. My only concern was the timeline. When he told me, I had less of the pressure, because I knew it was going to be a good product. I know it was going to show well. I knew that the pressure was on him to get it done in the time frame that they wanted. So I was a little bit relieved.
I was impressed by the episode because it was put together in a way that seemed real. Yep. It starts with the two of you walking through the home, and we've seen these shows many times. Mm-hmm. But I guess because I talked to you guys and I knew that this was, Kalamazoo. This was a real Kalamazoo house. This is a real deal. This is not just, you're not just actors playing this. Yep. Because I know some of these shows, some of them you're seeing some actors. Yeah. You guys are the real deal. And I've seen these types of houses that are just disgusting, and I've walked out of them and said, I don't even want to ever think about that house again. Yep. But Jeremy, how do you do this all the time? How do you walk through a house like that and A, just figure out what you would even pay for it, B, determine how much it's going to cost to fix it up? Because and why don't you start by kind of saying what you said on the show, which is, I bought this house for this much, I'm going to put this much into it, I'm going to sell it for this much. Take us through that process.
Yeah, so the weird thing about me is I can walk into an ugly house, a nasty house I like to call them, and I can see the finished product. So I'll walk into the kitchen and I'll say, okay, you know what, this wall's got to be moved here, or we're going to have a bank of cabinets here. We'll have a lazy Susan on the base here. Maybe we'll put an island here. So while I'm doing that, I'm calculating, okay, my 36-inch sink base is going to cost me $175 at Lowe's. This 36-inch wall cabinet is going to cost me $98. This drawer bank is going to cost me $211. I've got all these numbers in my head, so I'm just calculating that. Okay, I'm going to put on Durock on the floor, and then I'm going to put my ground or my base, and then I'm going to put the tile. My tile is $1.12 a square foot. I'm doing all these calculations rather quickly because I like to give an offer to someone before I leave that house. I don't want them to have enough time to call someone else or entertain any other offer. So I'm walking to the living room. Okay, this is this square footage. I've got a little laser shooter that I can just put on the wall. Okay, this is 13 feet. I'll put it on the other wall by 20 feet. Okay, so this is the square footage of this living room. This is what my carpet's going to cost me. If I'm saving hardwoods, this is what the refinish cost is going to cost me. I'm running numbers as I'm walking through this property.
So you're telling this all in your head?
It's all in my head, yeah.
You don't have an Excel spreadsheet that you bring in?
No, so that's I was blessed with this memory that I can just remember quite a few things, and I look at the macro. So there's a lot of investors want to write everything down and just get the micro numbers. I'm looking at it from 10,000 square feet. So I'm thinking, okay, the kitchen's going to cost me, based on my numbers, real quick, it's going to cost me $9,000 in materials. Living room's going to cost me $1,500 in trim, new windows, and paint. Bathroom, gut it all the way down, redo it. It's going to cost me $3,000. And so then I take 9, 3, 12. Okay, so you want X amount for the house. How about we drop that price $4,000? I'll add in my material cost, and we'll get the job done in 6 weeks. So I look at the finished product first, okay, or the finished price. I'm sorry. So I can sell the house for $150,000. My material costs and labor costs are going to be $35,000. So I like huge profits. So I like instant equity. So I need to make at least 30 grand on the property. And so I'll just work backwards from there. If I can make 30 grand on it, minus 100 or 150 minus 30, I've got $120,000 of room there. As long as I pay less than, 120, it's a win for me. But usually I pay like 20,000 or less. So there's huge profits in the ones that no one else wants to touch, and my competition is very limited. Most people are going to walk into the houses that I buy and just walk right back out. They're going to look at that bathroom, and again, the bathroom that you see on the pilot is the cleaned version of that bathroom.
Oh, you mean it was more disgusting?
Oh, of course, yeah.
You guys shot
the toilet was full, the sink was full.
So why didn't you leave it that way? So
it was
let's talk about the Hollywood magic here. Why did you feel the need to clean that bathroom up so that it looked as disgusting as it did?
I didn't. The network did. So I bought that house and I said, so we switched houses. That wasn't going to be the pilot house. I bought a 1,600 square foot, 2-story, massive house that had faux brick siding. The foundation, not the foundation, but the beam was falling in. I mean, there was just so many problems. The network saw it and said, this is not going to get done in 6 weeks. This may take a little more time because that's all we get, 6 weeks.
So they're thinking about the timeline.
Yes.
How long is it going to take to turn this?
And so, I'm thinking, well, it may take us 8 weeks, but they're like, well, we've got post-production, we've got, all this other stuff we've got to do. So we need you to get done in 6 weeks. So I bought that other house and I said, hey, I've got a hoarder house. You guys want to take a look at that one? It's a ranch. It could be nice and quick. 6 weeks, not a problem. So we get over there, we walk in, and I'm like, hey guys, check this out. It's a hoarder's house. They said, wow, we like the neighborhood. We love the what you're going to do with it, the final product. But hoarder is another show, so clean the hoarderness out and then we'll get going. So we left some blinds, we left, things in that, but you couldn't walk through that house. There was a failing beam in that house, but I couldn't see it. It was behind a drop ceiling, but I didn't think to look up there because I was trying to balance and not fall into, a bucket of water that's been there for 3 years, and get it all over me. So I'm trying to balance, and it was the best of that situation. But they didn't want the hoarder look. They said that's a different show.
They wanted it to be disgusting,
Yes.
just not. There's a line they didn't want to cross. Yeah,
Yep.
and those are all it's like those are not your considerations,
Right.
But it's interesting when they're making a TV show.
Yep.
They have those considerations. Like what's the segment? What are we going after here?
Yeah.
And then also the timeline. You guys did a lot of work in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But then they have the post production. The editors, the sound composers, the graphic people who add the graphics and everything. Which they know how much time that takes. And it's just like working on a house.
Yep.
Putting together a TV show.
I'd like to take a moment to tell you about Green Property Management. Not only do they manage everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area, they also manage my entire portfolio. So I can tell you from personal experience that their unique flat fee management style is worth a closer look. If you feel that your property isn't operating to its fullest potential, then Green Property Management can help you take a holistic approach that will save you money, eliminate your headaches, and increase your net income. And if you're a property manager interested in applying Green Property Management's model, give them a call at 1-866-95-GREEN or visit them on the web at greenpropertymgt.com.
Ramon, where were you during all of this, in the finding of the houses and helping to figure out which house to actually use and maybe acquiring those houses?
Right. Jeremy does a great job to, find his properties. I usually, once in a while, I'll bring him something that he'll buy, but he usually does his own searches. He's got his own system down packed that just works for him, where he doesn't have much competition and he gets the properties that he wants. I come in kind of at the after effect to see make sure that the pricing is, within reason. We always go below, because we just want it sold right away. We're not worried about, a couple $1,000s just to be there. We just want somebody to walk in, love it, write an offer, and we'll close as soon as possible. So that transition works very well. We just, we've been doing it for a while now, and it's just, he has his strongs, I have mine, and we just kind of let each other do what each other does, and it just comes together. I know when he had asked me about, the show and things, I remember talking to him, having my concerns like, well, are they going to have us, do do this. I don't know if I'm comfortable. I'm like, he's even in property crawl. He's the one that talks most of the time. I'm kind of in the, on the back, and I'm comfortable there. I'm like, I let him do his thing, and I say what I have to say when I need to, and then I just take a step back and let him step up to the podium again. So I'm comfortable there. So I was a little bit concerned when I brought that up about obviously it's exciting. We're like, yeah, I want to be on TV. Why wouldn't I? But is it going to be fake? And you're going to have me say something that I really don't believe or I'm comfortable with, or exaggerate on, like, oh, this is a $500,000 house that we're going to sell, and one day. But once we got there and we started shooting it, I can't remember the guy's name, but we had some runs and we were kind of, I think, just a little bit nervous, or I'm thinking about what I'm going to say, and he just pulled us to the side and said, just be you, act like how you would act if nobody else was here. And I think once I heard that, I was like, you know what, I can be I'm me all the time, so I'm just going to do that. And that's when it just started flowing. And I think it was short takes. It wasn't that many once we got in there, and just said what we had to say, looked at it. I gave him my opinion. He told me what he was going to do. I said, okay, sounds good. And it just worked out. So it was good. After it, I was done. I was like, this is not that bad. I was like, I can really do this.
One of the things I remember, Ramon and I, when the very first day we started filming, we were stiff, because it was like, well, you got a bunch of cameras there. We're all mic'd up. You got 24 people just staring at us, and we're supposed to, just be fluid. Well, the good thing is the Stephen Lerner, who's number 2 at HGTV, he saw us, just being kind of stiff and robotic in our movements, and he said, guys, stop. Is this how you guys talk, without any cameras? Is this how you guys normally interact? And we're like, no. He said, be you, don't, and he cursed a little bit, and he said, be real, man. Just be you guys. Just act like no one else is here and just have the conversation. Because I said, well, the driveway may cost me $5,000. I don't know if I'm going to, he's like, are you going to replace that driveway? I said, no. He said, well, don't talk about it, If you're not even going to touch it, just don't talk about it. Be real, be you guys, be genuine. And so after he said that, it was literally just a conversation again, Ramon and I were just having. It was like the cameras weren't there. We just started talking, and it was just us. So I thought the show came off genuine. That's how I act with my guys. My guys are dancing around. We got Ben, who just loves to, mess around with bugs. I've got the young gun Brandon in there. Our team is just, it's so weird, but it works. You know what I mean? It's awesome. And to hear, like Steven just say, guys, just be you, just be real. That was relaxing. That was amazing.
Yeah, because you felt like you needed to be a TV personality.
Yeah.
Right, you start thinking about the shows that you have watched, and what do they do, and how do they present this, and, and then you just get cluttered in your brain of overthinking things.
Yep. Yeah, well, you guys have a nice dynamic, and you balance each other well, because Jeremy, you have the energy and you're more the focus because you're the one who's there during all the work that's going on. But then you come in, Ramon, and the way they structured it, they were very clever in the way they structured it, because you're there in the beginning, in the middle, and the end. And you're the one who's kind of like the goalpost. You're like, this is where we can go. Then you come in and it's like, how's it going? And then you come in at the end and you're like, good job. Yeah. So, I thought that the two of you worked off each other very well. Ramon, you talk about are you going to have to make up things? Was there did you feel like at any points you were pushed into the land of make believe, like maybe coming up with some problems where problems didn't exist, or did it seem pretty natural the way you guys put the show together?
I didn't think so. Any rehab, there's always problems. I don't think you need to make up anything when it comes to rehabbing properties. There's something that always comes up. Might not be major, might be small, but there's always a delay in a part or something. To me, the biggest thing that was a challenge was sometimes when they want you to, for whatever reason, either lighting or something happened with the equipment, they want you to redo that shot that they call, and they tell you, say the same thing that you just said. I don't know what I just said. That was it. It was like, what did I say? I can't remember now. So those were the only uncomfortable things. Everything else they just said, just be you, say what you have to say if that's how you feel and that's what you think. If that's what you would tell them as your friend, then say it. Don't try to think of anything outrageous or anything like that just to make it more suspenseful or something. So that's what I enjoyed the most, is they honestly let us be us, and I think that's what a lot of people that I've heard that's seen the show that they like, because they know us. They said, that's really you. Yep, that's really you. That's his smile all the time. So it's just great.
Yeah, Jeremy, what was your experience with your team? Because you probably spent a lot more time with the cameras and the producers and making it happen. So how did that go for you?
So I'm there every single day. I'm actually, and that's what was different about our show, is I'm not going to say just, I'm not the investor that buys the house and then hires everything out. I'm the investor builder. I'm the licensed builder that goes in and, the designs. We did have an architect come in and kind of say, well, you should try this or do that. But our problems in that property were real, like the failing beam. I didn't see that when I bought that house. It was, again, under a drop ceiling, and I couldn't actually get to it to see it. So the part that they didn't capture was when I originally discovered it. We started pulling the ceiling down and cleaning stuff out, and I look up and I'm like, wait a minute, guys. There's no beam here holding this side of the house up. Like, hold on, grab some 2x4s, get this secured. Like, if you saw that, if you caught that, that would have been even more suspenseful. The septic system, we knew we had to do something with, just not on the level of replacing the entire line to the city sewer. So they never connected it. They paid the assessment, which the township told me, but they never hooked up to the city sewer. So it was the only house in the entire neighborhood that was still on a septic system, which was already full. So there was no way to clean it out. The township allows you to one cleaning, but for my future buyer, I didn't want them to have to go through the expense to pay for it to get replaced. So those were our two major problems: the failing beam, which we had to bring Vice Engineering in on, and then the failing septic system, which we had to hook to city sewer. Both real problems. And in the houses that I buy, there's never a shortage of problems. There's always something that goes wrong, but we always find a way to power through.
Now, your project from start to finish, once you brought in your crew, it was what, a 5 to 6 week?
6 weeks.
6 week rehab. And how much time were the cameras actually there?
Yeah, so without the cameras, we would have finished in 4 weeks. Again, like Ramon said, there were multiple takes. So we'd be, let's say, cutting 2x4s, or not 2x4s, we'd be cutting deck boards for the deck. And they say, well, let's hook a GoPro up to the back of your skill saw so we can get that shot. And it's like, okay, cool. You guys stop doing that so we can get this shot. Or we'd be doing the front yard interviews, and any kind of a sound, just like we're recording here, any other sound is going to get picked up. An airplane, 30,000 feet in the air, they're like, all right, guys, stop, pause, got to let that plane go by. One of the neighbor's dogs barking, wait, got to let that dog stop barking. They wanted it because the audio was I don't, the audio guy was amazing, but he was able to pick up every little sound and nuance, so we had to make sure that things were perfectly quiet when they needed to be. So when I'm doing the front yard interview, nobody could be inside hammering. The plumber couldn't be in there, cutting pipes out, or everything had to stop while we were doing that interview. And the interview lasted 2 hours, 3 hours sometimes. So there's a half a day, because we don't get going until 10 o'clock. I think I mentioned that back on episode 63. I'm not a morning guy. So, we'd blow half a day on an interview, which was cool. But it did add some time to the rehab. So 6 weeks on a ranch is easy for us. But again, we would have been finished in probably 4 weeks had we not had the cameras there.
And were the cameras there the whole time, or did they just come in once a week or something?
Yeah. So that was, again, this is Arcadius Network are the producers, and this was their first cable show. So this is their first time on cable. So they were there every single day, which they found out in the end was too much filming, because they had to go through 6 weeks worth of 8 hours a day, worth of footage
to
and
whittle
sound.
it down to about 22 and a half minutes.
Yes. So, they said, in the future, we're only going to show up on these few days and we'll capture what you guys are doing here. But they were there from 10 o'clock till 5 o'clock. And then on the production side, they've got a whole nother, they can't work over, I think, 10 or 12 hours in a day. So they'd have before we started at 10 o'clock, they'd have to meet with the entire team at a separate location, and then they'd meet at the house at 10 o'clock when we're getting ready to go. And then we leave at 5 o'clock, and they're still putting tables up, chairs up, and, wrapping up. But they've got, there's terminology called strike. Like, we're going to strike this location because we've got to be out in the next half an hour. Everybody's got to be done, I guess, by their laws or codes or whatnot. But that's just a little bit of a difference for my world, because I'm like, hey, you guys want some overtime? Then let's just keep going. Want to keep working? Grab your hammer, let's go.
So, a couple of questions about that. Like, how many people did they have on their crew? So you've got your team, and there were probably looked like 5 or 6 guys plus yourself. How many people were on the actual camera crew and the shooting crew?
So on what they call big shoot days, there were, I want to say, a dozen people. So they've got an audio guy, they've got a sound guy. The camera guy was Nathan, awesome guy. Audio guy, Mike, awesome guy. We've got the showrunner, who actually is there every single day with us. They've got 2 executive producers. They've got an associate producer. They've got the person that, I don't know what that's called.
The clapper?
The clapper. That is like a full paid position that, she was there to do the clap. I didn't know that was a position, So they have that person. Then they've got like these white screens that block the sun or direct the light. That was a position. Tom was their production coordinator. So Tom made sure we had waters, we had snacks, we had Band-Aids, hard hats, or not we, but the production team had all this stuff. He was the safety guy. He was the guy hey, I need this done. He'd run and do it. Go grab donuts or lunch or Band-Aids or whatever. So they had a good dozen people on the big shoot days, and when it wasn't a big shoot days, they had maybe half a dozen people.
Now they have craft service. They feed you any
So
lunch?
we got lunch catered every day, which my team got used to, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's not in the budget. When this thing gets picked up for serious, cameras were gone. They're like, where's the lunch? I'm like, well, we'll do it for a week, and then phase this out. You got to bring your own lunch again. They brought us lunch every single day. Yeah, it was fun. It's fun.
I'd encourage everyone to watch it. First of all, tell us how people can watch it.
The show is called Gritty to Pretty. I don't think it's airing on online streaming just yet, but I'll have that information soon, and I'll get it to you.
Can you watch it on demand?
Possibly.
So Gritty to Pretty, it's on the DIY network.
Yes.
And is there a name for the episode or episode number?
Yeah, Welcome to the Jungle.
Welcome to the Jungle. Okay.
It's called. Oh, we didn't even touch on the backyard.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. We'll come back to that.
Okay.
Why is it called Welcome to the Jungle?
Yep.
How do you feel after watching the final product?
I was originally concerned that they'd make me out to be a vulture. That's not what I am. I buy the ones that the county and the government wants to demolish. These houses no one else wants to touch. And in Kalamazoo, there's certain neighborhoods that builders won't go in and plop a $100,000 brand new house in. And so my idea, don't demolish it. I'll come in, I'll spend my $30,000 to rehab it. And then, instead of you demolishing 50 houses, there's 50 more families that have housing in our city. And so I wanted to make sure that they didn't make me out to be a vulture. And they didn't, and it came across as, hey, that's really the guy that wants to save those houses that everybody wants to take down. They were able to articulate that point where I said, there are 50 houses coming down in Kalamazoo alone. That's a mainstay that my company's vision is to take these forgotten houses and turn them into family homes. And that came through the show. You got to see some of these houses that most people would walk right out of. You got to see that become the best on the block, literally, and the family that bought it loves it. So when I saw the series, or when I saw the show, I was glad that they were able to capture that. The one thing I didn't like is it was only a half an hour. There was so much more fun, and excitement that happened during that 6 weeks that, I look back, I'm like, oh man, you didn't put that in. Oh, you didn't put that in. But what they did use was amazing. And like you said, it was seamless. It was great. What they did use, I really liked. So I'm pulling and I'm hoping that we get an hour show so you guys can actually see a little more of the inner workings of, the beam and how we put it up and how we decided on that sizing, or why I picked the tile floor that I picked and the island size versus this. Because there are a lot of different things that they didn't capture, but it will be important if you're in a position where you say, you know what, I want to flip houses. How do I do that? And if you can't make it to a property crawl, you'll be able to watch this show where the actual guy is really doing the work, and I can walk you through, how it's done in an exciting and entertaining way.
Yeah. Ramon, why did they title the episode "Welcome to the Jungle"?
Because walking through the property when he was showing it to me, and I saw it right away, but I was like, I'm thinking about the camera. But once he walked me to the back, I mean, they were literally just overgrown weeds that were probably higher than me.
Probably higher than the house almost from the looks of it.
And I know at one point I was thinking, I know they're going to want us to go back out there. And I don't want to be the one to say no. I don't want to be that guy, but I really don't want to walk out there. So hopefully they can just catch us from the window or, figure something else, bring the drone out there to catch that. I don't know. But yeah, it literally was a jungle back there. And I knew that was going to be an important key to that house is a family would have to come in, see that, and see their home, see if they have children playing out there or if they have their pets. I mean, that was going to be in a space that needed to be utilized in that house. And I know when he talked about the slider and the deck, I said, he hardly does any landscaping from his previous projects. So I was like, you're going to have to do something back here. We just can't cut it. We can't just trim it down. You're going to have to do something out here. But he saw it too. He's got great vision. And I knew it was going to turn out great.
Yeah. So what was the math in your head like when you walked into that backyard and you saw all the trees and weeds and everything that had to come out?
Yeah, and poison ivy. So
yeah, they didn't mention that.
Yeah, no, they didn't tell anything about that. But there's poison ivy all throughout that backyard, so we had to knock all that down. And cutting it with a lawnmower just wasn't going to happen. Weed whackers weren't going to work. The vines were too thick. It was like, we got to get a machine in this backyard and just scrape the top 4 inches off the entire thing. We found steps that were buried that led into the back of the garage. So basically I just took, we got 4 inches to pull and replace over this, surface area. Called my excavator over at Bailey's and just said, how much is it if you drop this and load it in the backyard and, spread it for me? Got a number, and we did it. So, and then we seeded it, and you kind of see Fido back there with the straw dancing and stuff, because that's who we are. That's what we do. We like to have a good time. If we're not having fun, it's just not worth doing. So, that's us. We had fun doing that whole backyard, although we were kind of dancing in poison ivy a little bit, pulling vines from the house. I mean, it finished out amazing, but it was quite a project for someone that doesn't do landscaping often. I can fix the house. Fixing, landscaping and cars really isn't my thing. Yeah.
So how long did it take for your team to get used to the cameras? I mean, do you feel that you played it up for the cameras a lot, or did you just eventually get into the rhythm that you're usually in when the cameras aren't
there? So the
there?
first couple of weeks, maybe the first week and a half, because again, they were there every single day. So, the first week, it's like, first couple of days, oh, this is weird. You got to mic up my shirt and all this other stuff. But by that Thursday, the production team was amazing. So we're goofing around, talking with those guys. By week 2, we're like, dude, let's do it. Monday's coming around. Let's get back at it. And so after the second week, it was just fluid. I mean, they just captured what we did. Occasionally, we did do something, cool, and then they say, hey, do that again. It's like, what did we do? But they didn't put many of those moments into the show. So I think what they did capture was genuine. Maybe not the time I said, hey, Ben, let me show you what this beam's doing. When that was discovered, I said, Ben, grab some 2x4s, cut them at 85 inches. Let's get it under here. So that was just a little bit.
Yeah, you seemed a little calm when you're like, oh, there's no support under that.
At that point, we had already had a 2x4 under there, so I was comfortable standing under there and saying, look at this. It was a little more scattered when I first noticed it.
Yeah, that would be scary. Yeah. What as we wrap it up here, what are just some of your takeaways? Ramon, let's start with you. I mean, you got to see yourself on TV, and that's got to be kind of fun and exciting. I mean, what's your takeaway after the whole experience?
It was great. When I was out of the country. I was in Ireland when the show aired, so I was excited to get back and to see the show. But once I saw it, it was great. Like Jeremy said, they caught all those right moments. It was genuine. I was reading all the comments on Facebook. Everybody who was the whole city of Kalamazoo showing us support was amazing. I really appreciated that. It was great to see. It was great to highlight Property Crawl too. So some of the people that come and see us once a month, it's this is what we do, and we want everybody to succeed and take something away from it. And I believe the show caught all that.
Yeah, and the Property Crawl, you do that every month in Kalamazoo, and you have a Facebook page for people
Yes.
who are able to attend and want to know when it's going to happen. It's Property Crawl, and that's with a K, Krawl, right?
Correct.
So type in Property Crawl on Facebook, and you can find out when it's going to happen. But if you want to, it's like instead of watching the show on TV, go participate in it live is what you're doing.
Exactly.
Jeremy, I'm trying to think what questions what questions do I have when I watch those shows? And I wonder, it's like, you're giving them a lot.
Yeah.
How are they giving back to you?
They they want to make certain decisions. So like the exterior of the house, my landscape budget on most of them is cutting the grass and that's it. And so they said, well, you got to dress the front up a little bit. Can you build some planter boxes? Can you put a retaining wall in, or can you do this? And they want everything to look, uniform on the front. So instead of, me, I would have put a nice white steel door on the front with a matching steel door on the garage door. So they'll say, do you mind if we purchase a wood look door and, a fiberglass front door, and we'll pay for it? So I'll say yes. Do you mind if we do, a picture window here instead of 2 side-by-side windows, or, anything that they want to upgrade. So if I say I'm going to put white ceiling fans in, but they say, no, we want brushed nickel in here. Do you mind if we pay for the upgrade? Sure. So they've got a certain amount of budget in there to say, over and above what you're currently doing, we're willing to, compensate for that. And then there's what's called a talent fee. So every property, I get a small amount, $3,000 per episode. So if we go to season, there'll be 13 flips. So you do the math there. And what I'm really hoping for is that some local companies are willing to come in and say, hey, we'll help sponsor some of this so that we can get a lot of local attention around the show. It's a national show, but there's a lot of local companies that have a little hand in it. And so we kind of showcased that at our watch party, where I invited every company that had a little hand in it, whether it be the Lowe's that provided the cabinets, or the cleaning company that did the final cleaning of all the drywall dust, or our stager came in, our electrician, plumber, HVAC. Anyone that had a hand in it, we want to showcase, like, hey guys, these are the people we work with. So use them. They're all local. Their families live here. Their families work here. Their families play here. So that's kind of the rundown of the breakdown. The numbers, I think we said 150. I had that offer the very first day that we listed it. We got a full price offer. But I went back and I said, well, wait a minute. I think we can get a little more. And I never do that, but I did this time. So I ended up getting less. We sold it for $136. But the purchase price, $24,000, and we invested $31,000 into it. Those were the numbers on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you still made a pretty good profit off of it, but you got a little greedy there. It sounds like, because on the show you say, "Oh, we got an offer at 152."
Yeah.
But then you pushed a little higher.
I did. Well, so the whole, it gets to your head just a little bit for that half a second where I said, "Oh, we can get a little more. Let's do that." And it was like, wait a minute. So we went back with a counter offer, and they said, "Well, no, we'll pass." And then, so the house sat on the market for a couple of weeks, and I'm like, oh gosh, what did I do? And then we dropped the price and ended up getting, I think we dropped it to 130, and the lady came in and offered 136. But yeah, again, I never go right at what the market value is. I like to go below the market value. I want somebody to see this with a comp down the road and say, wow, your house is nicer and it's less expensive. Why wouldn't I buy yours? I don't want to mess around with trying to get the top dollar for the property. That's not my intent. It's to get these things sold so I can buy more nasty houses and save as many as I can. So I need to get those funds back out because we don't do any debt financing. So I need to get the money out so I can do more.
Ramon, what was your advice on the price?
I was shocked. But it was a great product. I mean, the house was wonderful. You did a lot of extra things. So it was one of those where I can see it, but I didn't know what the strategy was behind it, because it was just one of those quick, like, nope, let's go back to this. And it's like, okay. And then when it didn't play out, it was like, okay, so something happened. We dropped the ball somewhere. We shouldn't be, 2 weeks in and not have somebody else coming through here. And then we just had a little bit of different strategy. We ended up doing an open house, and we actually ended up with 6 offers that day after the open house. So it's like, okay, involved the community a little bit more too. Got the neighbors to come in and see the finished product, which everybody loved, and they were just happy that, hey, that one eyesore in the block is gone.
Yeah.
And now our neighborhood looks great. Complete.
Well, when you watch the episode, it's really striking the way it looked when you first walked through, and then just the transformation it went through. You guys obviously staged it.
Yes.
But it looked beautiful. It looked like a brand new home, which essentially it was.
Yeah.
So it was a great example of just what you do with your rehab and your team, what you guys are able to accomplish. But give us give our listeners directions on what you like. How can we help get this to series on HGTV? Whose door do we need to go knock on here?
So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put it on my website, which is kzoorestored.com, KZOORESTORD.com. Once I know the next air date, we need as many people to tune in. The network's interested in eyeballs. How many people are watching? So we're going to do the whole news circuit again. We'll go to Fox, all the local stations. But if you can watch it, if we share it on Facebook, we're going to share it via Property Crawl. So if you like the Property Crawl page, you'll get it there. And just share it with your friends. Tell your friends, because the more people that watch it and like it and share it, the higher probability that we'll get a show on HGTV. DIY is amazing. So don't let me understate that, but everyone gets HGTV that has a basic cable package, and we want as many people to see this as possible. So if you go to the website, once we know that air date, we'll have it right on the home page. If you like our Property Crawl page, Property Crawl with a K, you'll get that update. Ramon shares those videos often. And again, that's another thing. If you can hashtag gritty to pretty, that's GRITTY to pretty.
The number 2 or
spelled out, sorry, TO, pretty. And the other one is
pretty being PRETTY.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And then the other one is hashtag on DIY network, ONDIYNETWORK. And so when you do both of those in unison, the network considers what's called trending. So the more people that are hashtagging that during the episode, after the episode, or just excited about the episodes, it raises something in Nielsen. Don't know the rest of that name, but Nielsen standards or whatnot.
The rating service.
The rating service.
They let the stations know how many viewers, how many eyeballs do they have on their shows.
Yeah. So everyone that tunes in or hashtags on social media, if we trend or the Nielsen ratings show that people were interested in watching, that will help us get to HGTV.
I'd strongly encourage our listeners to watch the show. If they get DIY, or they, at least go to Property Crawl or the other places you mentioned to sign up for updates from you.
Yes.
It's a fun show to watch, and I think you'll know what I mean when you watch the show, that you guys both have a lot of charisma. You have a good dynamic together. You balance each other out nicely, and it's the real deal. I mean, you're actually watching real work get done on this house, and you see the transformation, and it was really impressive. So congratulations. Great job to both of you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And good luck.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
This episode was sponsored by Green Property Management, managing everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area. Find out more at greenpropertymgt.com.
You've been listening to the Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast, brought to you by the Rental Property Owner Association. You can find out more at rpoaonline.org. If you enjoyed this podcast, please go to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and review.